There's Erika Lauren. In an
Hi,
opposite
Joey.
direction, I assume you are as crestfallen as young Bill Squire is.
Crestfallen. I didn't get much sleep last night.
Because of the game, you were just up going over plays in your head of...
Yeah, I was just all wound up, you know? That very last few minutes of the game were just so, tense. My heart... No, the whole game was tense. My heart rate was just up for so long that it was difficult to fall asleep.
You were watching at home?
No, we went to... funny you mentioned that. We went to the bar to watch it, and I got pulled... Not technically pulled over, but I got followed by a cop the entire way home, and he pulled into my driveway and tried to give me a dewey. But unfortunately for him, I wasn't drunk.
He followed you all the way home.
All the way home from a place to a place. And
You didn't... why would it take him that long to assess whether or not you were...
I'm really not sure. I didn't really ask him a whole lot of questions. He was doing the asking of the questions, and I was just being polite and responding as a matter of fact.
I've always been very vague on that, and I know that cops have called us and explained it before, but I don't retain that information. About a cop following you to your driveway.
Pulled into my driveway.
Giving you a ticket in your own driveway. I'm like, if you got home, if you didn't pull me over before this, I'd say nanny boo-boo, no take backsies or whatever.
That should be like the safe zone.
I got to home
base.
plate.
Yeah, that's
so
base.
I guess legally they can do whatever they want. That seems to be the MO these days. But,
I think I drove home right as the game got out. I think he positioned himself in a way where he thought he was going to catch a drunk driver.
You were alone in the car?
Alone in the car. I was driving through the Metro Parks.
Okay.
He explained to me when he confronted me in my driveway that...
So how does this play out? He pulls in behind you. You get out of your car.
No, this is what happened. I pull it down to the Metro Parks, okay? Going in. I'm taking that way home. And I took that way home because it was a nice night out. I rolled down my window, had the nice breeze going, and it is the most direct route to where I live from where I was coming from. So, and I don't have to stop at stoplights. It's like a straight line, you know? It cuts
You're taking
through.
the scenic route.
Not even. It cuts through the scenic route, right?
Okay.
So I don't even have to, but it is kind of scenic, you know, because you're windy and whatever. But it's the closest way to take.
Mm-hmm.
So I took that way, and I think he thought he was going to pull behind a drunk driver.
That was trying to take a back road
Yes.
way.
So he followed, I saw that he followed me. He pulled in behind me right as I drove past him, but I was going exactly the speed limit.
Mm-hmm.
So I set my car on cruise control at the exact speed limit, and I cruised all the way home, you know, obeying every law. I have a brand new car, so I know there's no tail light out or anything. Right. I was just making sure I was good to go. Mind you, I knew I wasn't drunk, so at any point in time, he could have pulled me over, and I would be like, and? So I didn't even think about it, to be honest. After initially, because the Metro Parks are windy, I didn't quite see him always behind me, so I kind of thought he just turned around and went away. That wasn't until I pulled into my driveway and I saw him pull right behind me coming down my street. And I stay in my car for a second. He gets out of the car, so I just cracked my door open slightly so as not to jump out or whatever. I just cracked my door open. I'm like, I'm going to get out of my car. And he's like, hi, ma'am, you know, have you been drinking?
Ma'am.
And I'm like...
Well, she's 30.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so old. I'm like, I had a half a Modelo. That's true. I had a Modelo.
Modelo?
Modelo. It's Spanish.
Say it however you like.
Okay, Modelo, whatever.
Sponsoring tomorrow night's Alan Cox Show Bar
That's
Crawl.
right, I want to get in the spirit.
East Bank of the Flats.
But halfway through, I had half of it, and then I realized I wasn't supposed to drink last night at all because I had this procedure done this morning that I couldn't have alcohol before.
Botox?
No, I had my eyebrows microbladed. It's a whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so I'm like, oh, can't drink this anymore. So then I just drank 3 glasses of water, and then we left the bar at about 12:30. I had the half a Modelo at 8 p.m.
You can't drink before you get an eyebrow wax?
It's not a wax. It's where they actually... it's like an eyebrow tattoo.
Okay, but...
They break the skin, so they don't want you to bleed.
You can't have alcohol before that?
No, it thins your blood, so you would bleed more during the procedure.
You're not going to bleed out through your brows.
What do you mean? They cut your skin.
But you're not going to bleed out through that part of your body.
I bled. Not bleed out, but they don't want you to bleed a lot because that slows the healing process.
Okay.
Because then it'll scab. It's like a whole thing.
Wow, I would think you'd skip something that invasive. for eyebrows.
No, I opted to do this. Oh, I've bled everywhere. That's right.
All right.
So I forgot that I wasn't supposed to have alcohol. So I only had half a Modelo, whatever. And then 4.5 hours later, we left the bar after I had 3 waters. So I knew I was 100% fine. So and he asked me, so I get out of, I'm stepping out of my car. He's like, "Hi, ma'am, were you drinking?" I said, "I had half a Modelo about 4.5 hours ago, and then I drank water since." And he goes,
"But if you're in your driveway, can't you just walk in your house?"
I wanted to.
Yeah, do I have to stand there and talk to you when you followed me home? I'm not impaired. Have a good night. I'll see you later on.
I honestly didn't know what to do, and I really
no reason to come into my driveway.
I really respect cops in every way, shape, or form. I have family members that are police officers. I was always taught to be respectful and whatever, so I'm out there talking to the guy.
But it goes both ways. We can't constantly have to defer to people who are following us and with no reason. And
Yeah.
it goes both ways.
Well, and part of me, okay, you know how we were talking about how you should never yell at a cop yesterday or whatever, how I couldn't see myself in a position where I would?
Well, you're white, so it would work.
This was that moment. I really wanted to be like, "What the F, dude? Like, I didn't break any laws. I'm not drunk. Why are you in my driveway? I just want to go to bed. I'm pissed about the Cavs game." You know what I mean? But instead, I was polite and I just answered his questions. He's like, "Why did you choose to take the Metro Parks home?" I'm like, "It's the most direct route to my house, and I had the window down. It was a nice night outside." And he goes, a lot of people take that to avoid getting pulled over for drinking and driving because there's less cars down there.
Again, not your problem.
Yeah.
You didn't do anything wrong. It's not your job to memorize where the speed traps are or the DUI stops or be like,
Yeah.
"Thank you, good night.
I said, "I understand
Have
that,
a nice
sir.
ride home.
I
I'm going to go
understand-
inside now."
Yeah, I said, "I understand that, sir. I am not drunk, though, and I did not choose to take the Metro Parks for that reason." I'm like, "Did I break any traffic laws or anything?" And he said, "No." He's like, "I just wanted to check and make sure." He's like, "Because I know you were coming from this certain area and there's a bunch of bars over there and you're probably watching the Cavs game." I'm like, "Yes, I was watching the Cavs game, but I'm not." I didn't know how
You
to.
were a decoy. There's so many people that got home safe because of you.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying.
Or like
You
got home
jumped on
without
that
getting a
grenade.
DUI,
You were a
yeah.
martyr. You were a drunk driver martyr.
So
Way
he
to go.
asked for my license and my registration and my license and my insurance. I hand him both those things. He goes, "New car?" I'm like, "Yes," hence the temporary plates in the back. He goes, "Those aren't expired, are they?" You can clearly see it says July 21st.
I got to tell you, that is the point where I would have said, "Have a good night, officer. I'm going inside to my house now."
It tested everything in me.
I don't need to show you anything.
This, by the way, was like a 10-minute conversation.
Do not have to show you anything in my own driveway.
So finally, he's like, and I'm like, "Yes, new car." I'm like, "Just go check my license." Like, I literally was like, "Please just go check my license and just make sure everything checks out." So he goes back to his car. He checks everything out in like 2 seconds. He comes back and he goes, "Okay." Like, okay.
While you were dicking with me in my driveway, who knows what that must clearly a slow night. You wouldn't think that because there's plenty of people driving drunk after a Cavs game.
He doesn't say "have a good night." He doesn't say, "Sorry." Oh, I forgot the part where I told him, I said, "If you give me any sobriety test right now, I will pass it with flying colors, even a breathalyzer. I'm positive I will pass this. Like, I'm not even buzzed. I'm nothing." And
Okay, what if he was like alphabet backwards? Go.
I didn't mention that part. But I think he did agree with me. He said, "After talking to you, I realize you're not drunk." I'm like, "I'm not." And so then we're still standing there in this awkward moment. Then he's like, after he checks my license, he goes, "Okay." And I'm like, "Okay." And I start walking towards my house. And he's like, "Okay," and gets back in his car.
Was your husband home?
Nope.
Oh,
He was still out.
yeah.
So that was my interaction, and I feel weird about it because I'm like,
I'm not somebody who gets in people's faces, but you lasted a lot longer than I would have.
when
I'm
I
like,
walked
there
inside,
is zero reason for this.
I was like, "MF for this," going crazy. I called my husband. I'm like, "Can you believe this happened?" But in the moment, I guess
Why you got to ruin his good time?
no, trust me, I didn't ruin his good time.
Yeah.
He barely heard what I said. He was just an ear to catch the earful. But you know what? I think it tested everything in me to just always be respectful to cops and just be honest and forthcoming and do the best you can do. But really, I wanted to just yell at the guy because I still to this morning, I don't understand what all that was.
Yeah,
He
well-
followed me 10 miles or 7 miles to my house.
I give you props for that. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Plenty more where that came from. Click here to subscribe. Click here to watch another video. We'll see you next time.